I'm explaining a film from 2015 titled Curve. Spoilers ahead. Enjoy the content. So this film begins by telling the story of a beautiful girl named Mallory. She is driving quite a distance in her fiancé's car, to Ella's house, her sister, who was going to do a dress rehearsal for her wedding which would be held in 2 weeks. Mallory contacted her sister as she stopped at the gas station to fill up. Mallory was not enthused about her impending marriage, according to this exchange. Mallory then resumed her drive on a somewhat peaceful route, but her car unexpectedly broke down in the middle of the journey, so she stopped to see if it could be repaired. Mallory attempted to contact for assistance but was unable due to a lack of service in the location. Mallory went back to her car and drank a can of drink that she had accidentally dropped, soaking her clothing. Mallory also changed her wet clothes. When she was about to change her clothes, she was surprised by the appearance of a strange man walking. The man seemed friendly and greeted Mallory, realizing that he had shocked Mallory, so the man apologized by offering to help check Mallory's broken-down car. Because Mallory really needed help, she allowed the man to repair her car. The technician didn't take long to fix Mallory's automobile. He was able to repair Mallory's broken-down automobile and get it running again. Mallory, blushing, expressed her admiration for this gorgeous, unusual man's ability. They ultimately became acquainted. Christian is the name of the guy. Mallory plans to provide money in exchange, but Christian refuses. Christian appears to be in need of a ride, but Mallory is hesitant to provide one. She politely declines and apologizes to Christian for not being able to provide him with a ride because Christian is a stranger and they have only just met. Christian kindly said that he understood Mallory's reservations. Not having driven far, Mallory suddenly stopped the car. She felt like she couldn't bear to just leave Christian, who had helped her start her car which had broken down earlier. Mallory turns around and invites Christian to ride in the car with her. Christian previously convinces Mallory, is she sure about giving a ride to a stranger? What if it turns out he is a bad person? Mallory nonchalantly stated that she would take the chance, and they eventually rode in the same automobile. Mallory then recommended Christian's destination and where she should drop him off, to which Christian replied that he would want to be dropped off at a nearby motel. Mallory was also interested in what Christian stated, since she needed rest and nourishment after dealing with earlier automobile issues. But Christian evidently misinterpreted it, thinking it was a code for Mallory, who wanted to have sex with him. Throughout the ride, they spoke a lot. Christian appeared to be a good listener at first, but his behavior and speech got weird and slurred with time. Slowly his true nature began to emerge. Mallory felt uncomfortable with all of it. Christian said that their meeting was not a coincidence, but was fate. Without shame, Christian asked Mallory to give him a blow job. Hearing that, Mallory was angry and offended and asked Christian to get out of his car. Instead of getting out, Christian instead took out a knife and threatened Mallory to continue walking. While crying in fear, Mallory was forced to follow Christian's orders under threat of the knife. Now Mallory realized that she had given a lift to a psycho. When Christian was careless, Mallory then stepped on the gas at speed and swerved into a ravine so that the car fell upside down. As a result, Mallory was trapped in the car with serious injuries, with her head hitting and her legs pinned between the steering wheel and the car seat. Meanwhile, Christian bounced from the car until he was unconscious. With all her might, Mallory tried to free herself, but the harder she tried, the more her legs were trapped. Mallory dressed the wound with clothing to halt the blood after she yelled in anguish since her leg was seriously damaged. Meanwhile, Christian began to awaken from his trance and approached Mallory. Mallory realized this and attempted to hide the knife that was close. Instead of assisting Mallory, Christian blamed her, claiming that everything had happened due of her fault. Mallory also urged Christian to assist her, but Christian just said, "Good luck, Mallory." Mallory yelled for assistance, but no one could hear her since she was in the midst of the forest. It was getting dark. Mallory was alone and accompanied only by a knife, matches and a little drink and a small flashlight. Day after day changed. Mallory had been stuck without eating or drinking for 3 days. The wound on Mallory's leg became more infected and swollen. The next day Christian came to bring food and drink. Christian said that a kind family invited him to stay at their house. He also said that he would soon invite the family to play something fun. Mallory, who is now starving in the accident, Christian brings her food but on the condition that Mallory must tell him how she lost her virginity first. At first she refused, but because she was very hungry then Mallory told him. She said that it was the first time she had intimate relations with a man who was older than her. Hearing that, Christian was aroused, but he seemed to know that Mallory was just pretending and telling him lies. Christian asks Mallory if next time she has to be honest. Mallory agrees and asks for the food, but Christian throws the food away and leaves her. Evening came. Mallory's condition became weaker because she had not eaten or drank for days. Mallory was forced to drink her own urine to quench her thirst. The next day, Mallory found her cell phone which had fallen near the car. She intended to ask for help but unfortunately, Christian came quickly and Mallory hit her cell phone. Surprisingly, the cell phone rang, prompting Christian to seize it and trash it. Christian then pulled out the equipment he was carrying, which included an axe, saw, and hammer. Mallory was terrified that Christian was going to murder her. If Mallory wanted to be free right away, Christian handed her a saw to use as a tool to chop off her trapped leg. Christian also stated that it was up to her to decide whether Mallory wanted to be free or remain bound as she was, and he departed. Mallory intended to do it after Christian departed, but changed her mind. That night, a big rat tried to gnaw on Mallory's injured leg, perhaps because of the fishy smell of dried blood. But Mallory killed the rat first, because her hunger was no longer unbearable. Mallory ate the rat and no longer cared about her disgust with rats. Very heavy rain came down. Mallory heard the sound of a car stopping not far from her place. Mallory screams for help but realizes that it is Christian's car, so she smears the dead rat's blood on her leg so that Christian thinks she has cut her leg. Christian was perplexed by Mallory's behavior. He assumed Mallory had perished from blood loss. Mallory tried to stab Christian when he was caught off guard, but she only managed to seize his vehicle keys and toss them away. Christian, who was furious, attempted to attack her, but because the rain was growing stronger, he abandoned Mallory. When Christian tries to start his car without the key, a police car passes by and comes to a stop. Christian informed the cops that his automobile had broken down. Mallory cried for aid after hearing it, and the cops slightly heard her shouts. But Christian was smarter. He managed to outwit the policeman and asked him to take him, and finally they left. The rain became heavier that night, causing the river water level to rise and flood the forest area. Mallory's car was not spared from the sweep of the flood, so it was swept away by the river current. As a result, Mallory's feet were free from the trap and she immediately swam along the river bank. With a limp, Mallory walked through the dark night amidst the pouring rain which was still falling heavily. Mallory arrived at a house and she went to the house to ask for help. She was almost hit by a mine trap in the yard of the house. How shocked Mallory was when she found many bodies lying around in the house. What surprised her the most was seeing Christian torturing the police officer she had seen before. This turned out to be the family that Christian was referring to at the time. Christian then grabbed the policeman's clothing and put them on after brutally murdering him. He pretended to be a cop to make it simpler for him to discover his next target. Meanwhile, Mallory took advantage of the chance to walk inside and steal the cop's pistol. She then went inside the room where a girl was being held hostage by Christian. Mallory tried to free the girl but Christian suddenly came. She immediately pointed a gun and shot him but Christian managed to dodge. Mallory then hid, but after a long time Christian managed to catch her. They struggled. Luckily Mallory managed to escape by biting Christian's hand. Mallory ran again and hid in the attic, then Christian followed her, while the girl who was free earlier tricked Christian by throwing something from below. Christian then checked the noise. Mallory immediately pushed him so hard that he fell to the ground and his leg was hit by a trap he had set himself in the yard of the house. This caused Christian's leg to shatter and rip, allowing the bones to fall out. Mallory saw this and offered Christian a knife so he could slash his own leg to release himself from the trap, just like he had done earlier when Mallory was caught in her automobile. Mallory again reiterated what Christian had stated the day before, that their meeting was not a coincidence, but rather the result of God's purpose. Mallory contended that she wasn't the one who offered the incorrect person a ride, but that Christian was to blame because he got into the wrong car. Mallory and the child then abandoned Christian, who had his leg stuck and gravely hurt. Christian roared in pain while asking for help but Mallory ignored him, just like what Christian had done to her before, as the film ended. That's all the recap. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, don't forget to give a like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support would be appreciated. I hope to see you next time.